I'm just gonna eat my noodles.
Yeah. Take my water.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your wine if you're of age. Welcome to the soon-to-be named book club and our first stream ever. Yay! For our first book, of course, we're reading The Lost Apothecary. And so for the first section that we're doing, it was chapters 1 through 6. So that's what we'll be talking about in this stream today. I'd like to welcome everyone here and anyone who's watching. I am Ian, your hostess with the mostest. We have Book Club Mom. We have Decal. And we have Heart Illustrations, or you can call her Soap. we read first. So like I said, we read the first 1 through 6 chapters. And what did we all think let's start with get to know a little bit more about the author. Sorry about that. Book Club Mom has all the info.
So today we meet the author of The Lost Apothecary, Sarah Penner. Sarah was born and raised in northeast Kansas, growing up in a small log cabin nestled deep in the woods. She graduated from the University of Kansas with a degree in finance and worked in corporate America until early 2021, when she became a full-time writer. Sarah began writing seriously in 2015 after attending a moving lecture by American author Elizabeth Gilbert, best known for her book Eat, Pray, Love. Sarah says after that lecture, she enrolled in her first online creative writing class and hasn't looked back since. She's married to her best friend Mark and lives in St. Petersburg, Florida. When she's not writing, you'll find her in her kitchen, traveling the world, in the yoga studio, or running outdoors in the Florida heat. The Lost Apothecary is Sarah's debut novel, and it was released on March 2nd, 2021. A TV series adaptation is in the works at Fox. Sarah Penner's next novel is coming in April of 2023, and it's entitled The London Seance Society, described as a spellbinding gothic whodunit about two women who set out to solve a most unusual mystery.
She's definitely got a thing for the UK.
Wait, what was it that you said about Eat, Pray, Love?
So her impetus for writing, what got her into writing, was the author Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote she's most famous for the book Eat, Pray, Love.
Okay. Cool. I missed that part, so.
No problem.
I thought you said she wrote Eat, Pray, Love, and then you said this was her first novel, so then I got confused, so that's why I asked.
No, she was inspired by another author. That's really wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like that.
So for our first section that we read, in a sentence or less, what did we think about the beginning of this book?
Two wild rides.
I'd say, I'm going to keep it to a sentence. I'd say intriguing, mysterious, and exciting.
I don't have a sentence, but yes, I find it definitely all those things. I just can't wait to see what happens as we meet these characters and they evolve, and we get to meet their stories from the 1790s, right, all the way up to present day. So very interesting how we have two correlating, stories happening in two different time periods.
Yes, it's definitely a tale of the century.
Centuries plural.
Centuries. Sorry.
Yeah, I love it. I like that it bounces back and forth like that.
Yeah, at first when I read the first chapter and then I saw the second chapter, I'd flip back because I was like, were we just in present day or what? And then I was like, oh no, we were definitely not there. So, so I thought it was just gonna be the same time period, but no.
How do we feel about the different character, like not only different characters' point of views through different chapters, but also just like jumping back and forth between different times?
I sorry, go ahead.
I think it's very interesting that we meet Nella first, right? 1700s, 1791, I think they said. Apothecary or apothecarist, is that the so we meet her and we discover that she is poisoning people, right? So we first of all find out that she grew up in the shadow of her mother, who was also the apothecarist, and she was doing things to help women, mainly through getting through difficult maladies like childbirth or other, maybe menstrual cycles, that kind of thing. But now, and then we jump to meet Carrie, who's going through an awful time in her life. She just learned her husband was cheating on her. They were supposed to celebrate their 10th anniversary in London. So she jets off to London anyway, and the story really begins. And that's how we start melding these two, they start to entangle.
I liked how it jumped back and forth a lot. I feel like it's telling the stories. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's doing a really good job of telling stories that are in two very different time periods, but obviously go together very well and like need to be told this way. I definitely found myself flipping back to the chapters before, especially the ones where we were going back to the 1700s. I was like, okay, what day was it in the chapter before? Just because like I would forget reading all the information that was coming up. But yeah, I really like it. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I do find it interesting though that we did read 6 chapters, but we've only like in the 1700s we've only gone like 24 hours if that, and in present day we've gone like maybe 12.
Yeah.
Like I wonder how that's going to progress like as we go.
Because right, in present day she only has 10 days in London. So is it only going to go for a 10-day span, or is she going to just, I don't know, stay a little longer? But I don't know.
There are a lot of unknowns. These characters are definitely interesting and have multiple layers along with just being mysterious themselves. Especially Nella, even though we did get a little glimpse into her whole life and kind of reasoning. We still, I think as we dive into Nella, we still find more mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always fun. I always like characters like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from the beginning of the book, we definitely see like a cute little map. I don't think that's really played a whole part in it yet. We get this little cute little map going on.
I love a good map.
I love a good map, but I know as I read this book, I am going to completely forget to look back. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to be like, oh, I should probably see where we are.
No, I went back and looked at the map as soon as she said where the apothecary shop was, because I wanted to see if it was on the map, and it was, and it's Bear Alley, basically. So yeah, I love it. I love a good map.
Yeah, I thought this was actually going to be the map that when Caroline went to see
Gainer.
Yeah, I thought, because they were like, there's a map on the table and it was 150 years old. And I was like, what years is again? Like the first chapters, but it's a little bit later than that. So I assembly. Yeah.
Yep. So we
That's a good
do.
guess, though.
True. So yeah, so we do go right. So we did go to the number one place on the map. So we have been to Bear Alley. So we do recognize at least that.
Right.
So we've
Well, the
got
bear is significant because the bear is etched in the vial. So
Mhm.
that's what Nella said. It was named the bear was etched into the vial because the mother wanted the women to know where she was located. So they knew that Bear Alley was, where the apothecary was located. So
the other little lovely little thing that we got right before the book started was that ancient apothecary oath. And
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of get that it's a little bit of foreshadowing, but like as we before we read, did we think it was going to be any type of foreshadowing, or what did you think it was just going to be like some cute little thing the author threw in there?
Truthfully, I didn't even read it, so I just saw some words flipped away. I had no idea. That was even there.
Would you like to read it real quick?
Yeah, I guess so.
I read it and didn't really understand it, and I just started reading it again. And I think you're right. I think it probably does have some foreshadowing in it, because it's like when you read it at the beginning before you even read the book. And we were talking about how I didn't even read the back of the book, like before I started reading it. I just kind of jumped in and read the book, so it didn't really make any sense to me when I read it the first time, but it makes sense now after reading the first 6 chapters.
but then when you read the line, never to administer poisons, so Nella's already broken the oath, right? So is she
Yeah.
truly, can she call herself an apothecarist, right?
No. She's probably like a witch.
Well, I think the oath doesn't really go into like, oh, you're not an apothecarist if you do any of the bad things per se. But there is that little bit at the end where it says, may God continue to bless me so long as I continue to obey these things. And you can tell that Nella's, starting to break down from something, whether that be
Her
old
health is
age
declining.
or yeah. So
Yeah. So, because to me, it sounds like whatever journey that Caroline is on, she's gonna, help solve these apothecary murders or whatever it is. So obviously, they never solved them back in the 1700s when they happened. But I mean, you have to think about the fact that Nella's health is declining and she's getting sick. So I feel like that obviously has to do with the fact that she's giving away poisons to kill people. And so she may not get caught in the late 1700s, but I don't know. I kind of think she's going to die.
okay.
Well, I think it's interesting to learn that her first victim was a man that she was in love with, right? We don't understand what he did yet, but we understand that he was the first victim and that she was madly in love with him, but then something happened and she ended up poisoning him.
Yeah, that was super surprising. But of course, she
I didn't
unveils
expect that.
she of course unveils that little detail, but then doesn't tell us why. And I'm like, of course.
Right.
Well, and it was like right after her mom died too, because she only met him like 6 months after her mom died, and then I think it was like another 6 months or something that she killed him. She accidentally poisoned him. So I feel like that probably sent her into a downward spiral.
Evan, did you have something to say, or Decal? Did you?
I know, I was trying to remember, but oh yeah, this is what I was gonna say. To me, it's surprising that she did accidentally killed him because it made it sound like she knew where everything in the shop was and all that other stuff. So I'm kind of like, how did this happen? Like, I don't
Did
know.
she accidentally do it?
Did she do it? Did somebody else accidentally do it because it was in her shop? Or What? I don't
What
know.
did the shop even look like back then before she was
Had
selling
his-
backdoor poisons?
Yeah. He's like a drug dealer before drug dealers are a thing.
I especially just love the way that the author described the shop and how there's just the barrel and then like this fake wall, and she like looks through the wall to see like who's coming into the shop to get whatever it is, and then it's like just this fake wall and then the whole apothecary shop. I think that's kind of funny. I think that's cool.
Well, I thought it was interesting how Nella described the shop to Eliza, and they talked about disguise, right? And how that then transformed in a whole discussion about how in her poisoning you have to basically cover your tracks, right? So her whole business is about disguise, right? Her apothecary is disguised, her clients are disguised, and what they're doing is disguised, right? So the police can't come back and trace what's happening with this poison. So it's really
Oh yeah, you could even say like the bottle, like the vials and the bottles are disguised because they're not really. If there's one etching on it, and it's not really that clear.
right. And it's interesting that it's only a network of women that really know what's going on.
Do you think these women have any correlations to the ones that were throwing rings off the side of that?
Right, the ones that said, hell no, I'm not marrying.
Like, not you. Next.
Yeah, where did that tradition go?
That's
like-
what needs to be done still.
I feel like they were the Ariana Grandes of 1791. Thank you. Next.
Exactly. I was like, was it really that common for everyone to be like, no? I can't imagine just that's your job is just finding people's thrown rings that and then selling those back.
Whatever floats your goat, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But that does bring us into the amount of like different characters that we did meet. Like we definitely like of course with the chapter headings we really only like there's only two main characters. But you know, we meet like in passing with Nella not as many, but definitely with well I guess with Nella and her backstory I should say we meet a lot of characters. But Caroline definitely has a little bit more that are more ever present and not just present in time and day. But no, so just out of so like we've met Elf, which was of course in our mudlarking adventure with Caroline. We've met James through Caroline, which is going to be definitely a point of talking in a story in itself. But also with Nella, we met a little Eliza. We'll call her. So out of all those characters, who have you enjoyed the most, or who even are you most intrigued by? Well, I guess we can go both. One for who you enjoy the most, and one for who are you most intrigued by.
Who our favorite is and who we enjoy the most.
No, just like who do you enjoy the most reading about, or like having like in the scene? But who are you like wanting to learn more about?
Oh, okay. I want to know more about Eliza because I feel like Eliza wouldn't be mentioned as much and as in depth in the first 6 chapters if she wasn't a big character in the book. So I want to know more about her and her relationship with Nella. But I also just really enjoy reading Caroline's story because I really relate to a lot of the stuff that she's dealing with and just like a lot of the things that she's interested in. So I really enjoy reading about Caroline and from her perspective.
I think so far, I really do like Nella. I think she's the most intriguing to me just because I don't know how many people have she killed and all that other stuff. And there's a story behind every little line on that paper, starting with Frederick, right? So I think that in itself is like, did people actually do that, or is this, is this a book, right? But and so I think that for me is really like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's what you do for a living, right? As like a little girl living in a small town in London, right? So I think that's really cool. And then I think I'm most intrigued about Eliza because she's like, I'll come back to see you or whatever. And you're like, what? You're 12, you're 12 years old, man. For what? So,
Who are you gonna keep killing?
yeah, like you're not gonna keep coming back. Like you don't have a reason to. So like if this goes well, she might be back, right? So I don't know. She might get that same like the mindset as Nella. Like if it happens once, then I can make a living out of this. Then so maybe she'll
I
get.
want to know how many people a 12-year-old has grudges against.
Yeah, really. I have no idea, but it's got to be something crazy. I couldn't tell if her is it they called it a mistress?
Yeah, the
Or
mistress.
The mistress sent her to do that, or
Yeah.
So it's the woman she worked.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, so instead of calling her his wife, we find out his name at the end, that Thomas Amwell, I think it was, if I'm right.
yeah,
Or the end of Nella's, not the end of the section. But they're basically just that's his wife, the mistress. It's not like a side piece. It's like his wife.
Yeah. I think in the beginning I was getting so confused.
I was too.
I was like, she's 12 years old. Does she have somebody that's also dating somebody else? Like, no. So then I kind of figured out after another chapter that that's
Same.
a little lost there, but
He caught up eventually. It's okay.
Right. Yeah, I would have to say Nick and Eliza are those are the characters I'm most interested in at the moment to learn more about. Nell is a very conflicted, woman. She's on this incredible path that's taken her from helping people now to hurting people, but still helping people, right? And so it'll be interesting to see how her conflict goes. And of course, Eliza is the budding, right? She could be the budding apothecarist, right? So we'll see what happens, and she seems very interested in what Nella is doing. So it'll be interesting to see how this relationship plays out.
Oh, for sure. I mean, for the most intriguing character, Nella is definitely so far my favorite. I love the mystery. I love the backstories. I'm interested to see how she got to where she was, because of course with her backstory it's so pure with her mom, and like you would think that she would carry on that whole ideology essentially, but then something shifts and it's now we're at where we are. I think the most enjoyable character is definitely Alf, or Bachelor Alf. I definitely need to run into someone that on any type of European travel, for sure.
Yeah, he's a funny dude.
Well, I love the interplay between him and Caroline, especially when she realizes, wow, this guy is doing something that he loves, right? And every day is a new adventure. Every day is a new treasure, right? So he's meeting different people. He's having these great experiences, and she realizes, oh my gosh, I really should have come to London when I was a college student and not married James, right? And so now crashing down on her, and Elf is the impetus for all that. So I think it's pretty fabulous that he's doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do we think about, like, we've talked enough about Nella, like we can get into Nella's story a little bit, but she's definitely, like, from the start, she's definitely like more mysterious and like what's going on with Nella. But Caroline, kind of, you get like a whole laid out story. So what do we feel about like just Caroline's story in general? Or, I mean, with her story, it also shows, who she is kind of as a person. Like, what do we think about Caroline overall? Like, do we like Caroline? Is Caroline going to be our friend? Or are we just going to be yelling at the book and be like, Caroline, what are we doing?
I like Caroline so far. I think I'd be friends with Caroline. I don't like James. I don't like him at all.
No.
I want him thrown into the river like one of those rings. And I really, 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 really hope she doesn't take him back. Because she won't be my friend if she does.
Well, do we think the book is going to go far enough to where we get more of an interaction with James even? Or like, do we think we're going to go past the 10 days even? Or what do you think?
I think at least once he's gonna like call her or something, right? Like in this 10-day, I don't know, but like at least in this 10-day span. I feel like if you're losing somebody, you might try to get that back somehow, or he's gonna make a trip out there at some point.
I will hate him if he does.
Exactly.
I just don't want him to screw up the story by trying to fly out to London, or I don't know. Yeah.
He becomes part of the story, right? And you know what I mean? It's all about women scorned.
Yeah. I mean, that's true, because she did still decide to go on the trip and leave him behind.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what I am worried about, though. I am worried that she is pregnant, because there was one scene. There's one scene, though, where she's talking. I don't remember when it was. I don't remember if she said that her period was late or if she was like sick.
It was in chapter 2 where she was like, oh, we've been trying to get pregnant. I took a pregnancy test. My period's late. It was a whole thing. And I'm like, oh, do we think she's pregnant, or is it just that worry?
And it's not that I'll be mad if she's pregnant, because, whatever. But I don't want her to take him back, because, like, if she is pregnant, I don't want her to take him back because of it. Like, yeah. So I'm a little concerned about that.
See, I thought she already was pregnant for some reason. I think it was in maybe it is in chapter 2 or something. But it was like, it says 4 months since we decided to try for a baby, and then 4 months since my someday had arrived. So I was like, what does that mean? So
I was just saying, finally, her someday has arrived. They were starting. Remember, he was so set on his career, right? He made them wait to have a baby. And it was just 4 months ago that her someday arrived, because he agreed to finally have a kid with her. That's what.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's another thing that just makes me really mad about him, because as Caroline is telling the story, it's like everything in their relationship was on his terms. Like, he proposed and she had this plan to go to Cambridge and go to grad school, and then threw that out the window to plan their wedding, do all the work for their wedding. They have the wedding, they get married, and then, she still wants to do what she loves, but he's like, well, no, we can't start a family. Like, we can't do this if you don't have a stable job. So then she ends up working on her family farm, which, like, I mean, she doesn't hate it, but she doesn't love it. It's not what she wants to do. So it's like everything has been on his terms because he said so, and it just drives me insane. Drives me up a wall. I hate it.
That's why the mudlarking was such an important thing for her to do. So it was very how she rationalized how young Caroline would do this, right? And so I'm going to do it. I have to break out of this horrible cycle I've been in with James, and I'm going to do something that I want to do.
It's like she's rediscovering herself.
Correct.
After not really knowing who she was the entire time her and James have been together. Yeah. She needs to leave him. I will be so sad if we get through this whole book and we either don't get closure on their relationship or she goes back with him. I will be sad. I will be mad. I will be upset. I will. We'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah, Caroline. She's not my. I mean, I understand where she's coming from. I get the whole like what she did, and why she did. It's just like it's a little infuriating. Like I'm like I would definitely get more of a 50-50 thing out of it if I'm gonna go into a relationship like that. But I get it. But yeah, it's her stories. Not a little
frustrates you.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. I was gonna say infuriating, but I'm like, that's not the right word.
I think it's the right word. I think it's infuriating.
No, James is infuriating.
James is a jerk, and I am being kind. And also trying not to use cuss words.
Fair enough. We know where Sophia stands on James and Caroline. How about everyone else? We're basically like, are we unanimous with just Caroline needs to ditch James?
Yeah, I feel like this sadly like either happens a lot or like used to happen a lot, where it's just like the woman is supposed to drop everything for whoever they're talking to at that time, and that's just exactly what happened to her. And yeah, it is really infuriating to see that this going on, and he's cheating on her and she might be pregnant. So it's kind of like, wow, what worse course of events can happen than that? So
what did we think about how she found he was cheating?
the thing is, like, I don't think he would have told her otherwise if he didn't see that.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. And
So,
just the way that he tried to like justify it,
even after
and
the
like
picture.
I just wanted to
scream.
scream.
Oh my, I'm gonna beat you up, man.
Yeah, for someone who's just so calculated with everything. Like I you would never expect that from someone in general. Like you know that they could like pull it off because like they're as calculated as they are. But you're just kind of like, if you want everything to go like a certain way, like why? Like yikes.
And it's just like, after 10 years, I don't care who walks in front of you and looks real good. Absolutely not. Like, after everything you made her give up,
Ugh.
oh. Makes me so
Yay, book club mom is back.
All right. Hello.
So yeah. So
Are we rolling again?
we've been
Are we
rolling.
good?
Oh yeah, we've been rolling. So
Uh-oh.
it's okay. So yeah. So James. Just the whole situation. Oof.
James is 2 thumbs down.
2 thumbs down. 0 out of 10. Hard pass.
Negative 4 out of 10. Hard pass. Always a hard pass.
Always hard pass.
No redeemable qualities.
No.
No.
Oh man. We did talk about it a little bit, and I definitely wanted to ask the whole group. So would you go mudlarking? Would that be your thing? Like even if you had a planned itinerary. So let's say you did have a planned itinerary and you got to be somewhere, but someone was like, "Do you want to go mudlarking?" And you're like, would you stray away from your plans, or would you make sure you go mudlarking at least once?
I think like the equivalent of like finding sea glass, like people love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I would. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was saying just like one of those.
Go ahead.
I was saying just like one of those things where it's like you're staring at the water, but you're always looking for something different or like whatever your eye catches, and you have to you can't just like look for it. Like you just have to just stare down and hopefully something changes, right? So I think it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of mind work too. So
I loved that whole line though, like the whole search for inconsistencies and
yeah,
just everything else. Like the amount of times, even since I've just read this a couple of days ago, the amount of times I've just used that for random little things, I've just was like, oh, that is so true. Like if you want to just find something that you can't see, you just gotta take a breath and you gotta just let your mind work. I love that.
Yeah, I would definitely go. Knowing me, I wouldn't have a really detailed itinerary. I would give myself some leg room, because if I don't have leg room, I would probably give up. I don't know. I'd be too stressed out if I had things back to back on an itinerary for a trip. So knowing me, I would have time to say yes. It may make the schedule a little tight, but I would make it work because I'm into all of that weird stuff. Like when I go visit places, I love to learn about the history and go to museums and just do all that crazy stuff. Like I used to love looking for sea glass as a kid, and so yeah, I love that stuff.
I mean, just like Caroline, I'm a very big history buff. So so I would go mudlarking, no doubt. And now that will be in the itinerary now when I can find it. For sure. I will definitely go out into a random riverbed and go, let me find something. And I will for sure get just as excited as the author wrote.
It actually happened to me when I was in Italy. I was on a school trip to Italy, and my friend and we were roommates on the trip, and I don't remember the name of the church, but there's this church in Rome, and it has 4 or 5 different Caravaggio paintings, and they're huge, massive. They're just on the sides of the church. And it wasn't specifically in the itinerary of the trip, but it was something we wanted to do, but we just didn't have time to do because the itinerary had too much stuff in it. And we were just off on our own, separate from the group, because we had time to go do whatever we wanted. And we were walking back to our hotel, and we stumbled upon this church. And one of the things that my friend wanted to do was light a candle in one of the churches in Rome. And so we were like, okay, well, this is the perfect opportunity. We'll just go in there real quick, light a candle, sit down and, sit on one of the pews, just chill out for a second, then we'll just keep going. Well, we go into this church, and it's the church that has the Caravaggio paintings in it, which was something we already wanted to see, but didn't think we were going to get a chance to see. And it was our last day in Rome. So I am a big fan of all the spontaneous stuff like that. And I just remembered that happened. So yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool. And it wasn't even crowded either. You'd think that there'd be a ton of tourists flooding to something like that, but there wasn't. So it was really cool.
Yeah.
So you got to say yes to the spontaneous stuff.
Did you go mudlarking book club, Mom?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. It's like a treasure hunt, right? That's the way you have to look at it. So, panning for gold, treasure hunting, mudlarking, all that sort of fun stuff.
There's not much left that we didn't cover, honestly. But so we'll get basically where we end off with Nella is this whole, giant conversation with Eliza, and then Eliza, going, huh? See you soon. Do we think we're gonna see Eliza again?
I should.
Yeah.
Eliza's
Well, in the next
captivated.
chapter, from her point of view.
Yeah, I was gonna say that if you looked ahead, you see that. Yeah.
Eliza's captivated by Nella. I think that there's more to come between these two.
Then, so at the end of Caroline's story in the section, she, of course, while mudlarking, spots this cute little vial that, Elf is like, I have no idea. Usually there's, a company, dates, etc. And so do we think it's Nella's bottle? Like, we get a lot of hints that she thinks it's a bear. It's definitely an animal.
Yep.
So do we think it's Nella's vial?
Yeah. Well, and I also think that's how they're going to connect the stories too.
Yep.
And then
First,
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. I was gonna move on.
I really thought that Elf's daughter, Gainer, or whatever her name is, was like Eliza in the present. She was like looking at the bottle and she was like, "Oh, I used to always think there was like poison or arsenic in there," and I was like, "Right then, who are you?" So.
Well, I like that the author talked about the vial representing Caroline, delicate but intact, like her, right? And it was proof that she could be brave, right? That it represented Caroline realizing that, yes, what I'm going through is very, fragile, delicate situation, but I'm gonna make it through. And so I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, along the same lines, there was another thing that Caroline had said where she was like, well, I don't feel like I need to save this, but I want to save this because this was something not on the itinerary. This is something that doesn't have to do with James. This is just something that I like. So I really liked that because I save little trinkets and stuff like that all the time. So I just liked that she thought it was significant. So I'm really curious to see how she discovers that the vial is connected to Nella and the apothecary shop, because I think it's connected.
Well, I thought one of the most beautiful paragraphs so far in the book is at the end of page 51. Caroline says, "My eyes began to sting as I considered the odds of finding this object in the riverbed, a historical artifact, probably once belonging to a person of little significance, someone whose name wasn't recorded in a textbook, but whose life was fascinating all the same. This was precisely what I found so enchanting about history. Centuries might separate me from whomever last held the vial, but we shared in the exact sensation of its cool glass between our fingers. It felt as though the universe, in her strange and nonsensical way, meant to reach out to me, to remind me of the enthusiasm I once had for the trifling bits of bygone eras. If only I could look beneath the dirt that had accumulated over time."
I love that
Yeah.
paragraph. That that is just everything about history is just for me. Even just the love of it is definitely in that paragraph. I'm like, I wish I could just see everything. I'm like,
Transport yourself into the story.
But I also did think it was interesting at the end when Carolyn does meet Gaynor, and there's all this hope, that they're going to find something out, and then the chapter ends with her so deflated and so, oh yeah, you're not going to find out anything. But we know
She will. I
the
think she
story
will.
would end.
Yeah. I feel like she's just gonna. I think she's gonna persevere with it, just based on everything she's been through, and she's like excited about it. I think she's just gonna keep going.
Right, for sure.
The thing is, like, I think she's gonna eventually end up at like, like some houses are like tourist traps or like old like mansions and owned by very fabulous people. I wonder if Eliza's, the guy she's trying to kill off, is gonna be one of those houses, and then they find some other like clues or something like that.
That's a good guess. I wasn't even thinking about that.
I just thought of that now, honestly. I was not thinking of that before.
Can you say
That's
that?
a good guess. Doesn't matter when you thought
Can you
of
say
it.
that one more time? I'm so sorry. It literally figured out as you were talking, and I was like, oh crap, I missed it.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, I wonder, how some like very wealthy people, like now their houses are like used as like showrooms or museums almost. I wonder if the house where Eliza's gonna kill this man off is gonna be one of those houses, and then she's gonna eventually find clues or see another symbol with the bear or something along those lines, and kind of like, why is there more than one, or what happened here? And then maybe she'll find out, oh, he died. That's a weird coincidence and stuff like that. But that's just a guess. I have no idea. What? Not a bad guess.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, so where do we think we're going? Unless someone else had something else they wanted to bring up with the six chapters that we read. So where else do we think we'll start with like Nella? Where else do we think we're? Oh no, actually, since we all kind of looked ahead, we can see that the next point of view is Eliza. So where do we think we're going with that right off the bat?
Well, she's about to poison her master, right?
Right.
Yeah, I hope we get that story in this chapter, or the start of that story, that Eliza goes to poison Thomas, right?
Yeah.
Atwell.
Mm-hmm.
If we do think it's that storyline, do we think Eliza's gonna be like okay with it all, or Nella had that like warning of don't watch it happen. Like, do you think something's gonna happen where she's gonna end up seeing it, or?
Thing is, she seems like a very brave little person, so I feel like she's gonna want to see. She's like, oh, now I know it's gonna happen. At least I'm prepared for it. Might as well see it off, right? That's kind of how I see it at the moment. But I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think she's gonna screw it up because she seems too smart to screw it up, even at 12 years old. But I think that Nella mentioning to her, like, make sure you don't watch. I think that could have been a little bit of foreshadowing. So I think it'll probably still be a pretty exciting thing to read, just because I think she is going to be curious about it and like want to know what's going to happen. So yeah.
I think it's gonna be like a lot of back and forth, getting 3 different point of views throughout this story, and like who knows, maybe we'll get a 4th or 5th one even, or do we think we're gonna be stuck at 3 with Eliza, Caroline, and Nella?
I think it's going to stay between the 3 of them. if we get a James point of view, I will burn the book. I don't think that's gonna happen, but yeah, I'll be mad.
So yeah. I don't know. I think we might just get like one-off stories. So I feel like Eliza might have one, maybe Elf, or maybe Jane or something like that. I don't know. So,
Think it'll be like too much, or do we think we'll like the point of like will we like the 3 or more point of views, or will it get to be too much?
because I think well, everyone has a different story to tell, and everyone's point of view is completely different. So I think that's going to be very important in this book, how everything is seen in a different eye. So I think that's going to play a huge role into how they're all going to connect. So
It doesn't bother me. I mean, I think anytime I've read a book where there's multiple points of view from multiple characters, I always have to flip back to like when we end off with one character and then we have another character and then we go back to that same character. I always have to flip back to remember. I don't think I've ever read a story with multiple viewpoints where I've been able to just like read it through and be fine. So that's not something that really bothers me. I actually kind of like it because I feel like it's a really good way for the author to keep you interested, because they can leave on a cliffhanger on one person and then go to the next point of view, and then you have to read like the next two people's point of views before you get back to that cliffhanger. So I think sometimes it's used like that way as a smart literary tool to like keep you reading. So yeah, I won't be mad if like it stays between the three of them, or even if we have like a one-off chapter where someone else gets a point of view, as long as it's not James. But yeah, no, I don't mind it. I'm excited to read it through everyone's perspective.
Do we think Eliza is going to be a one-off chapter? Or do you think Eliza will continue throughout the whole book?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I couldn't
Sorry.
hear you.
Yeah, do we think Eliza is going to be a one-off chapter, or do we think that she's going to be like throughout the whole book?
It'll be throughout the whole book. She's going to be a key character.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think so too.
I wouldn't be surprised if Eliza's a one-off, though, just with the whole like storyline of the poisoning and everything. But it'll be I will kind of be surprised if she doesn't have a continuation.
You're making it really hard to not flip through and see what like the chapter headings are. Every time I go to do it, I have to stop myself.
Good. That's my job. Oh. So where do we think we're going with Nella? Is there anything like big that's going to happen in the next section? Is it just going to be more of a like more history, more background? Maybe we'll get a like more like conversation between her and Eliza. What do we have? Any big predictions, small predictions? Mine too.
Somebody has got to go like looking for her, or like the cops or something. So I feel like she seemed to be getting by for so long, but now that a child has come, it's kind of like I feel like they're easy to get information out of compared to the rest, even though Eliza seems extremely smart, but I don't know. Especially if this person is an actual somebody, then they're really going to be looking a little hard.
Yeah. I think that we're going to learn more about her path. And what was it? Frederick, was that his name?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I hope we learn more about him and what happened with him. I definitely think she's gonna keep dishing out poisons until she gets caught, or she doesn't get caught.
All very good predictions. Yep, I'm trying very hard not to say anything. So for
Okay,
Kara,
also-
okay, go ahead.
okay,
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah.
She's been like living in a hole in the wall for so many years. I'm just like trying to figure out like just like the basic necessities, like how do you get food and like how do you keep growing more of this stuff, you know? Like I've
Yeah.
no idea.
Also, what if the reason her health is failing is just because of mold poisoning? Like she's living in a hole in the wall.
Full of a lot
Not
of things
that
that
far
you
from
can
the
do.
river.
Whatever.
Did we decide? Did we say like? Does she say that she lives there though, or is it just her shop?
Yeah.
I think it's just a shop.
I mean, I'm assuming she lives there because
Ew.
I feel like they said some things that made it feel like she never leaves.
Yeah, she's like, I spend days at a time here. Like sometimes I can't tell night and day. So that's why I was like,
Does she
she's
not
even
leave?
living in a hole in a wall. Like before there was like the Salem witch trials, there was Nella in the apothecary person. So
She probably doesn't leave. She knows if she gets caught, she's gonna get killed.
exactly. uh, so
I mean, maybe. I just feel like if she did live there, there would have been like Eliza's point, like Eliza's little point of view that we got would have been like, oh, there's a bed, or oh, there's like it seemed like the way she described it was like just a little too small for her to like actually live there. But I also could be wrong.
I don't know. I'd be interested to see.
yeah. So I'm like, is she somebody's neighbor? Like, no way. So
Okay, you of all people, with all your true crime and everything else that you watch and read, are you telling me that Nella couldn't be someone's neighbor?
I would certainly not go across the street and ask her for sugar.
Yeah, exactly. No. I definitely think
Yes,
she
you
could
would,
get
because
shit.
you're a woman.
That doesn't mean she's not gonna poison my sugar. What if my dog takes poo on her lawn?
Real. Imagine her living in like an apartment, but I'm like, do they have apartments in 1790? I don't know. So
Or what if it's like a Sweeney Todd kind of situation? Like she lives above some type of restaurant or something. I mean, did we all not notice that she's like right next to Fleet Street? I mean, I doubt that these I doubt that these stories take place in the same universe, but
lived above a tavern. Not.
maybe
Yeah, Nella's making her own craft beer on the side in the 1700s.
and she's poisoning it.
Yeah,
She's poisoning it.
she's making the hard stuff.
Oh boy.
This brings up so many more questions. So
Yes, Nella always brings up more questions. It's so much fun.
I'm really curious to see where her story goes. I know I said this earlier already, but I really think she's gonna die by the end of it somehow, or get killed. I don't think that she's gonna survive. Someone's gonna either get on to her and what she's doing and kill her, or whatever is happening with her and her health declining is. I think that's gonna kill her. Well, and that's also easy for me to say because she's a character who's living in 1791, so she's obviously dead. But
did they
the
ever say
manner of
what happened?
how she dies.
Did they ever say what happened to her mom? How she died? Okay.
Yeah, they said she started the week like coughing. By the middle of the week, she had a fever, and by Sunday, she was dead. So whatever happened to her mom was very swift.
Wonder if it's a genetic disease.
And Nella was only 21, so yeah.
Because it sounded like her mom was pretty young when her mom died.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is? I gotta look up the lifespan in 1790 because I can't believe it's more than 40, to be honest.
Right. Well, her
Yeah,
mom probably around 40, and didn't Nella say she was 41?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So
I did find that interesting though. Like the lifespan in 1790, I was like, it can't be that much past 40, right? And then, you know, Nella even made like some comment in passing. Nella made some comment in passing that was kind of like, oh, you know, I'm pretty young to be experiencing, you know, these types of things. And I was like, I guess. I was like, you are 40.
I don't remember. Do they tell us how long ago it was that her mom died?
it
Like-
had to be about 20 years ago because Nella's 41 and her mom died when she was 21.
Oh, they do tell you that Nella's 41 now?
I believe that was there.
Okay.
Book. Yeah.
I must
That's
have
okay.
just said it over.
Average lifespan in 1970 or 1787, excuse me, is about 38 for a white male. So she is old.
Definitely helped in bringing down that age. So where do we think Caroline's gonna go? Not only with like her own personal journey of, you know, either separating herself from James or even the unspeakable getting back together with James. And even with like the vial, like, you know, we kind of end off on this like, oh, is it a dead end thing, or like, you know, is like what's gonna happen next with the vial? I have a feeling that there wouldn't really be a true story if that was a dead end, but we'll see.
No, she's bound to find some other clue that's going to help urge her forward.
I really hope that she like gets a job or something from this. Like she can just stay in London and work in London, like yeah, like I hope like right?
Apothecary.
Or she just like becomes this famous historian that solves this mystery, and then everyone wants to work with her, and then she could just divorce James and leave James behind, and then start thriving in her life on her own. That's what I hope happens. I don't ever want to hear from James again.
Yeah. But I did, because I was thinking, because I was like, wasn't Jack the Ripper in London area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was in like 1890. So this is in 1790. So I'm like, how weird. But I think not.
She was Jack the Ripper before Jack the Ripper was Jack the Ripper.
Exactly. The more famous of the two did the less damage. So
Yeah. She's killing everyone and leaving no trace.
literally.
I mean, that's kind of how that works, though.
She's keeping a log of everyone that she's killed. She is like 1700 serial killer. She really is.
That's what I'm saying.
I know. She has a whole book.
It's like basically having a trophy if you were a serial killer. She's writing down everybody and everything that she's doing to kill them. Oh, you know what? I hope Caroline finds that log somehow, somewhere. I hope she finds it.
It's got to be somewhere weird.
It has to be somewhere. What if Nella dies and like gives those records to Eliza, and Eliza's like, okay, gotta hide these, and Eliza buries them somewhere? But then on Eliza's deathbed, she like divulges the secrets of all the apothecary murders and all this stuff that went on and where the log is. And then what's her name? Caroline. Sorry. Caroline like finds it all out and like Sherlock Holmes is her way through it. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Oh, yeah.
I mean, not all of that has to happen, but I really do hope that Caroline finds that ledger.
I hope so. I feel like that's going to be at the very end if that were to happen.
Yeah.
Because that would just make all the puzzle pieces fit together, so. Because I feel like she would find that and then, like, boom, she's famous, so.
Yeah.
And then she can stay in London forever, so.
She never has to go back to James or her little Ohio farm.
Yeah, or something.
Oh,
Is it in Ohio?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she really needs to leave Ohio and just live in London.
She has, like, a single friend with a kid now, and her family. That's it, so.
Yeah. She'll be fine. She'll survive.
Exactly.
Well, before I give my answer about Caroline, book club mom, could you fix your camera again? Something glitched out on my end. Sorry about that. I know. I don't know if it's my connection, your connection, etc. But anyway, yeah, I think of course we're gonna get like a little, like I think Caroline's gonna, find herself more. Hopefully, like it's gonna be this kind of growth without James there. I mean, we'll see what twists and turns this author throws in for her. I hope she doesn't end up with James again, no matter what circumstance. Like, they're dynamic.
Hope what?
I hope that like her and James doesn't get back together, no matter what the circumstance. It's just their dynamic is not healthy. I don't think the like them not knowing anything at the library is going to be some dead end for the vial. I feel like Caroline's going to like just screw the itinerary and dig deep into this, and I think it's going to be a fun little adventure to see how this author like connects the two stories. Definitely. Like, I think each individual timelines is going to be very, very fun to read about, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how, like, she connects everything. And of course, we kind of get like we get the little connection right now with like potentially her having a vial of Nella's. Like, we don't know for sure, but.
Context clues are pointing pretty hard, but.
Very true. Is there anything else anyone wants to predict or bring up or have a fight about James with, or?
I think it's very interesting that with the two timelines that it seems like Nella is ending her life at 41 or 42, and I feel like Caroline's just beginning hers at that around that. I'm not saying she's in their 40s, but later in life. So I think that's very interesting.
She's
about
like
that.
30 something, right?
Does it say?
Sure, I don't know
if she left Cambridge, right, you'd have to be done with college, right?
So yeah, she would have finished college when she decided not to go to Cambridge and got married, and they've been married for 10 years.
Right.
So if she spent 4 years in college, which is
22 basically
on the low end
yeah
these days, but she would have been 22, so I guess she's like 32. That's kind of what I was thinking, like she was early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about that, Devin. That's a good observation.
It is, yeah.
Are we all excited to keep on reading for next week?
Yes.
Yes, I can't wait. What are we gonna read?
Yeah, no, I'll get there. So of course everyone can find us all in the Discord chat. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to advertise their socials. I know Heart Illustrations or Soap has her own stuff. I don't know if you wanted to. Where else can they find you?
I'm on Instagram. It's just Heart Illustrations 7. If you want to follow on Instagram. Throughout book club, I'm gonna be designing my own cover, kind of, or my own interpretation of the cover of this book. So just like a fun little drawing, sketching exercise. Haven't started yet because this is only the first little bit of the chapters. But yeah, so if you want to follow me there, you can follow me there. But
will we get little updates every week, or will we have to wait till the end of the book to see?
Probably. I could probably share my little sketches every week. Yeah, I can do
that. Little ideas that you have going through with as we keep on reading about all these stories and everything.
Yes, I couldn't hear the first part of what you said though. Your audio cut out.
That's okay. I'm excited to see.
Okay, cool.
Anyone else wanna? I'm okay with just being found on the Discord or even our soon-to-be-named book club TikTok and all the other socials with Instagram, Twitter, and etc. We do have a little link tree that if wherever you find us, the link tree, you have to go through Instagram if you go through TikTok, but TikTok won't allow us to post the link yet. But we do have a link tree that you can find us everywhere on. And for next week, we'll be reading chapter 4 up to chapter 14. So read chapter 14. Well, we'll reading up to 15. So read chapter 14, not chapter 15 for next week.
Okay.
And I can't wait to see everyone there.
Yay!
Yay! We completed our first stream. Have a great night to everyone who's watching, and I can't wait to see you guys next week.